All right. Good morning, everyone. I can tell you why Orange County's not here. We had quite a meeting yesterday. So anyway, I have a few announcements, and this is the MetroPlan Orlando Board meeting of February 11th, 2026. And first of all, I ask everyone to silence all electronic devices. And in addition, I'm asking everyone to speak directly into the mic. This is important for our recording purposes and for guests in the audience who might have hearing impairments. And Lisa's here. Good morning. If someone cannot be heard, please make a point to let us know. All right, we have two opportunities at these meetings for public comments. They are on action items appearing on today's agenda, and that is heard before we get to those action items. Public comments of a general nature are heard near the end of the meeting. And anyone attending today's meeting, a person who wishes to make a public comment is asked to complete a speaker's card. These are available at the reception desk on the table near the door. Cards should be given to Lisa Smith, and members of the public who are attending online and wish to make a comment should fill out the electronic speaker's card. We want this in all future meetings to be accessible for everyone, and participants can join by computer, tablet, or phone. And if you need any special accommodation, please contact MetroPlan Orlando. And I am going to ask Commissioner Wilson to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah.
Pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Commissioner Delary, thank you for chairing this group for an entire year, and you're back in the chair. I guess you'll be back up here in about 2 years.
We'll see what happens.
Okay. I wanted to make a quick report on the FDOT Safety Steering Committee in Castleberry on January 9th. We had a wonderful time, and Castleberry was super wonderful hosts, and we received a presentation from Kelly Brock on all the good work that the city of Castleberry has done to make the city more attractive for pedestrians and cyclists. We received reports from working groups on the activities that they have been doing to advance safety. And I think the most interesting part of the meeting was the walk and talk, where they actually took us down the street and we crossed 1792, and we had a persona that we had to, whether we were an elderly or a student, a senior, whatever, what it was like for us with that experience. So that was a wonderful activity. I really recommend any of you hear about those meetings to participate. It was very helpful. All right. The CRC, the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission, met on January 22nd. And Commissioner Janer, I guess you have the report.
Okay, yes, I do. Thank you. Good morning. As you just said, the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission met on January 22nd, 2026, and a quorum was present. We had a few action items, including approval of the October meeting minutes, ratification of new CAC members, election of officers. The new officers are, we have as chair, Mayor Buddy Dyer, as vice chair, Mayor Jerry Demings, and me as secretary treasurer. Agency updates included an update on some promotions like the Black Friday BOGO promotion, late night service launch, education campaigns for on-demand connectivity, and 2026 marketing initiatives. Total ridership for 2025 was 1,322,668. That's a monthly average of about 110,000, which was an increase of 9% from 2024. Average daily ridership for November, December 2025 was 5,294. CAC Tech, Links, and Votran also provided updates to the commission. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 26th at 1:30 p.m. at Lick Central Station. That is my report, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Janer. Are there any questions from the board for Commissioner Janer? All right. Well, thank you so much. And then the MPOAC, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, met on January 28th, and Commissioner Uribe chaired that meeting. And I believe you have a report for us this morning.
Yes. Good morning, Chairwoman. I'm proud to report on the MPOAC Governing Board and Staff Directors. We met on January 28th here in Orlando. We approved the minutes of the October 23rd MPOAC Joint Staff Directors and Governing Board meeting. We welcomed 6 new primary members and 11 new alternates. We elected officers to serve throughout 2026. I'm pleased that I was reelected to serve again as the Governing Board Chair. Commissioner Josh Street from Bay County TPO was elected again to serve as Vice Chair. We elected a new at-large member from the Alachua MPO, Alachua County Commissioner Mary Alford. We had a presentation from DOT District 5 Secretary Tyler joined us with an update from the state DOT, and also he included some really great facts about what's going on here in his District 5. We approved the 2026 Passenger Rail Priority Program project list. We approved the request to provide a letter of support from the MPOAC for the FDOT FR8 grant application to address rail crossing safety statewide. We had a report from our executive director that included comments on her MPO visits throughout the state, a 2026 budget review, a discussion of possible statewide memberships, a draft United Planning Work Program, upcoming activities. I also had the pleasure of attending the NARC conference in Washington, D.C., where I went representing MPOAC. It's always a tongue tie. I apologize. Where we got to get feedback on grant processes coming from the state, from US DOT. Unfortunately, when we were in D.C. was the one day we had a close down at the federal government on Monday. So Federal Highway and US DOT did not present, but we are assured that we continue to work on funding to come to the state of Florida and continue on to our regions. Our next meeting will take place April 30th here in Orlando, and Gary hopefully will address, we will be hosting another forum on the MPOs and learning about them on May 1st, the day after. So we hope that if you're interested in knowing more about the Institute, you will join us and join other folks from across the state of Florida. Thank you, and that's all I have to report.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Uribe. Are there any questions for her from the board? All right, seeing none, thank you, Commissioner. All right, then at this point, we will hear from Mikey Wilson on this month's safety moment, and he will talk to us about the rail crossing safety program.
Thank you, Chairwoman Moore, and good morning. Yes, so we haven't covered rail crossings for our safety moment yet, so first on that. Let's start off with a little video from the Sunrail folks. I think the message for that is pretty straightforward. Yeah, don't do that. So we always like to share some data. Now, data on motor vehicle crashes with trains, that we get that through Signal 4, but for pedestrians, we rely on Sunrail to give us that information, because those are now actually recorded as crash reports. And you can see that during the years of our Vision Zero plan, that we had 4 fatalities and 4 serious injuries for motor vehicles at crossings, and 19 fatalities for pedestrians. 11 of those were either confirmed or assumed to be suicides. And then you can see that about a third of those pedestrian crossings are at the crossings themselves, and 2/3 elsewhere along the corridors. A couple of things that the Sunrail folks want us to focus on from a rail safety standpoint is, first off, the dynamic envelope. You should be familiar with those cross marks that are there before and after the rail crossings. You can see them highlighted there in yellow. Basically, very simple. If you cannot clear that entire envelope, then do not cross the stop bar, regardless of what the conditions are there. Because you don't want the back of your vehicle hanging into the tracks in case the gates come down. And then the other key thing is that we all can help out with keeping the corridor safe. But if you see any issues at any of the crossings, there is a sign there with a phone number that you can call to report any sort of problems and issues. that will give the Sunrail folks the information they need to go out and resolve that. That concludes my safety moment for this month, and be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mikey. So does anyone have any questions? All right, then thank you so much. And then now I'd like to recognize our Executive Director, Gary Huntman, for his announcements and agenda review.
Good morning, Chairwoman Moore and board members. This morning we have a couple of alternates with us. Jim Strohs is here representing the Florida DOT in place of Secretary Tyler, who has another commitment this morning. And we also have Joe Nunziata, who is online. He is the alternate for Stephanie Kapelousas from the airport. And then we also have regular members, Mayor Woodruff, Commissioner Arrington, and Mayor Espinosa are joining us virtually this morning as well. So we said goodbye to one of our long-term employees last Friday, Sally Morris, who you would always see as you came in to the meetings, and she would validate your parking or take care of whatever needs you had. But Sally was with us for 13 years. Last Friday was her last day. She was a joy to have in the office, always the first one here, generally around 6:30 a.m. So she is an early bird and just a joy to work with. But I also want to introduce you to two new MetroPlan staff members. The first is Jamie McMillan. If Jamie is here, standing up there. Jamie is our new intern from UCF. She's a graduate student in the urban planning program. She started with us on January 12th, and her primary project will be helping with crash data, but we're committed to making this a valuable experience for her and one for us as well. The second and more recent hire, just started 2 days ago, is Natalie Barber. If she would stand up, there's Natalie. Natalie replaces Jason Sartorio, who you generally heard from at the podium with amendments to the Transportation Improvement Program. Natalie will be assuming some of those responsibilities, but she'll also be assisting with other planning projects that we have going on. Natalie has a PhD in transportation engineering from the University of South Florida. She has multidisciplinary experience in transportation engineering and planning, including safety, crash data analysis, and multimodal mobility studies in both academic and government settings. So we welcome them both to MetroPlan. Last month, the US DOT awarded a significant number of safe streets and roads for all grants throughout the United States. Those in our area that received them, the city of Castleberry was awarded implementation funding of $17.2 million. Chairwoman Moore talked about that, and that's what Kelly Brock talked about, their success with that and the implementation of that. The city of Altamont Springs was awarded a planning and demonstration grant for $340,000. The city of Orlando was awarded a planning and demonstration funding of $5.1 million. And Orange County, in partnership with UCF, was awarded a planning and demonstration grant of $1.4 million. So congratulations to all of those. I continue to stay close to federal reauthorization for transportation. As part of the AMPO Policy Committee, I'll be in Washington, D.C. For a couple days next month related to the reauthorization. Monday afternoon of this week, I received word of a new bipartisan House bill that is consistent with both the AMPO legislative priorities and those of the LOT Coalition that you've heard me mention a number of times at board meetings. The bill is referred to as the Bridges and Safety Infrastructure for Community Success Act, the BASICS Act. The schedule for that has not really changed. Early winter of this year, they hope to finalize the base text and share that with the staff members. Bills will be released in early spring, floor time potentially in the spring, and Chairman Graves hopes to have House passage in the spring. So just months away. Virginia, Alex, and I met with Dale Allen of Florida Greenways and Trails Foundation and Patrick Panza of Bike Walk Central Florida on January 7th. The purpose of this meeting was to review what we hope to be the final draft of the lake to lake map that we will be submitting to the Office of Greenways and Trails, along with all the supporting documentation. We're still receiving resolutions of support. I believe we received one from the city of St. Cloud. We've received one from Okeechobee. So they're still coming in. So we're not in a rush to submit that, but we do anticipate we'll be submitting it in the next couple of months. We met again on January 23rd to discuss and revise the timeline for the remainder of this year. And we have a meeting scheduled with District 5 DOT later this month to keep them in the loop on what we're doing and to continue to get their support. So I will continue to keep the board updated as I have updates. I do want to remind the board members that have an interest in learning more about MPOs, the work that we do, documents that we ask you to approve. The next opportunity will be Friday, May 1st, and it will be held here in Orange County at the IFAS Extension Office. Registration is open. The day, it's on a Friday, the day would start at 9 a.m. and end by 4 p.m. So it's a great opportunity, if you've never taken it before, to do so, and if it's been a while, an opportunity for a refresher. So I encourage you to do that. The supplemental folders at each of your seats includes a flyer promoting the MPOAC that I just mentioned. There's also a copy of a press release from the City of Winter Park promoting a February 17th community meeting to discuss e-bike and e-scooter safety. Adriana Rodriguez from our staff will be one of the panelists at that meeting. We have a presentation later this morning on additional steps that we're taking to promote e-mobility safety in the school system. Other panelists at that event will be Lindsay Ellison from the Winter Park Police Department and District 6 Orange County School Board member Stephanie Vanos. And finally, I've added a copy of the email that I received Monday announcing the Basics Act, as well as a 2-page summary of the sections and a 1-page overview of that for your information. On agenda review, Chairwoman Moore, there are a couple of minor changes this morning. As I mentioned, Secretary Tyler is not here, so Jim Strohs will be giving the agency report there. Slade Downs will be handling agenda item 9A, which are the TIP amendments in place of Taylor Laurent. And we welcome 3 new committee chairs this morning. Judy Pizzo is here representing the Community Advisory Committee. Christina Colon is representing the TISMO Committee, and Miles O'Keefe is here representing TAC. Chairwoman, that concludes my announcements and agenda review.
All right, thank you, Mr. Huttman. A very thorough report this morning. Are there any questions for Mr. Huttman? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to recognize Jim Strohs from FDOT for your report this morning.
All right, good morning, Chairwoman and Board. So in my update, I'd like to cover 2 events that the department held. The first is Construction Career Days. So in the last week in January, District 5 partnered with industry leaders to host Central Florida Construction Career Days. The 2-day event, which was held at the Volusia County Fairgrounds in DeLand, drew participation from 57 different high schools across the district. And of the 57 high schools, 23 were here in the MetroPlan area. So really good participation in the MPO area. We also had our largest number of students participate. It was over 2,200 students. And of that, 975, so again, pretty close to 50% were from Orange, Osceola, and Seminole counties. And the students got to explore career and trade schools in the continually expanding construction, engineering, and transportation industries. The event actually provided hands-on experience offered through 40 different learning labs that ranged everywhere from robotics to bridge design. Students also had the unique opportunity to test drive a diverse array of heavy equipment, which is always fun. They got to test drive excavators and concrete trucks, asphalt paving equipment, and cranes, and then also engage with industry professionals, including engineers, inspectors, and field staff. So it's a great way for DOT to continue to focus on our workforce development. Our second event was held in early February when we had our annual State of the District. The theme focused on District 5's past, present, and future. The event was well attended by all of our operations units and provided updates on current and future projects Several of those were within the MetroPlan area, like the State Road 50 East project in Orange County, as well as John Young Parkway and Pleasant Hill Road in Osceola. As part of the future presentation, we highlighted exciting updates on some of the new future modes of transportation, including advanced air mobility. And Secretary Tyler specifically asked me to relay that an update from him will be coming shortly in a future board meeting. So in closing, my safety moment, I'd like to highlight an event from last Friday, February 6th, where the Department of Transportation celebrated Florida School Crossing Guard Appreciation Day, which honored the men and women who are essential to keeping students and families safe while traveling to and from school, especially those that bike and walk. So the thousands of dedicated crossing guards across Florida promote safe driver and pedestrian behaviors, which help advance Target Zero. As part of the Appreciation Day, FDOT recognized school crossing guards from around the state by providing awards to those who have gone above and beyond their normal duties. And it's very exciting that this year's 2025 Florida School Crossing Guard of the Year is Minnie Alexander from right here in Seminole County. Minnie Alexander crosses students at Walker Elementary School and Lawton Childs Middle School, and was highlighted for exemplifying professionalism as a crossing guard, her dedication to safety, positive interactions with parents and students. And this was also great, her friendly greetings, smiles, and kind words that really make the children feel safe and welcome. So just as a reminder to all, please remember to recognize school crossing guards and their steadfast commitment to public safety by practicing safe driving behaviors. When approaching a school crosswalk, look for that hero in the reflective vest. Drive safely near schools and crosswalks by reducing speeds, eliminating distractions, and coming to a complete stop where necessary. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Strauss, for that report. I shared a picture with him. I happened to run into one of his crews at 10:30 the other night, and they were very polite. They were working hard, and I enjoyed talking to your staff, and they do an excellent job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions for Mr. Strauss?
Mr. Strauss, you guys are very humble, but when Secretary Tyler reported to the MPOAC 2 weeks ago, I think it's very impressive, and I think you should notate that every county in your district has work going on actively with DOT. And that's huge because that's that commitment to the Central Florida. And he went through every project, every highway, every road. And congratulations to you and your team for all that work.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Rebate. Anyone else? Okay, with that, Miss Lisa, you will confirm roll call and confirmation of our quorum.
Arrington,
Here.
Bates,
Here.
Constantine,
Here.
Gomez Cordero,
Here.
Delari,
Here.
Demmings,
Here.
Dyer,
Here.
Espinosa,
Here.
Gilbert,
Here.
Grebe,
Here.
Janer,
Here.
Nunziata for Capalusas.
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Simrad, Commissioner Jordan Smith, Mr. Stephen Smith,
Here.
Ortiz, Uribe,
Here.
Wilson,
Here.
Woodruff. He is actually logged in virtual, but we do have a quorum, Madam Chair.
All right, very good. Thank you, Lisa. All right, then next up for our meeting is the committee reports, and we definitely have some new folks joining us today. And first is the Municipal Advisory Committee with Commissioner Jordan Smith.
Good morning, Madam Chair. So the Municipal Advisory Committee met on February 5th. The MAC approved our December 3rd meeting minutes. We then recommended approval on the following items: the amendment to the fiscal year 25-26 to 29-30 Transportation Improvement Program. We also approved the support for federal transportation safety performance targets. The MAC received two presentations. The first, we received a presentation on the fiscal year 27, fiscal year 28 Unified Planning Work Program. We also received a presentation on the Link Transit Development Plan Annual Update. The MAC meets next on March 5th, 2026, and that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. Any questions? All right, seeing none, next up we have for the Community Advisory Committee, Ms. Judy Pizzo.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you, and members of the board. I am Judy Pizzo, the newly elected chairperson of the Community Advisory Committee. At our January 28th meeting, the Community Advisory Committee members voted to recommend approval amendments to the fiscal year 2025-26 fiscal year and the 2029-30 TIP, and to approve support for the federal transportation performance safety targets. We heard presentations on the Florida Sunshine Law, the fiscal year 27-28 UPWP, and the Links Transit Development Plan annual update. Members had many questions for the Links representative about improving bus service in Poinciana, as well as the need for bus stop amenities, including shelters. Staff reported that recruitment to fill several MetroPlan Orlando board appointments closed with 27 applications. The selection committee will meet February 24th, and recommendations will be presented to you at your March board meeting, with the goal of seating the new members at our April 22nd meeting. The next regular CAC meeting will be February 25th. Unless there's any questions, that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pizzo. Seeing no questions, we will move on to the Technical Advisor Committee with Mr. Miles O'Keefe.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, Miles O'Keefe on behalf of Links. I'm your new Technical Advisory Committee Chair for 2026. The TAC met a few weeks ago on January 23rd. Like the other committees, we met in person with a physical quorum present. Our action items, all of which were unanimously approved and recommended for your approval, included our December 5th, 2025 meeting minutes, an amendment to the Transportation Improvement Program, and support for the federal transportation safety targets. We did have two common presentations shared with the TISMO Advisory Committee. The first was a presentation on the upcoming Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP, as well as a Links Transit Development Plan annual update presentation. We did not have any TAC-only presentations. No public comments were received. Our next meeting is February 27th at 10 a.m. This concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Mr. O'Keefe. Any questions? All right, seeing none, then for TISMO, we have Ms. Christina Cologne.
Hi, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. The Transportation System Management and Operations, or TISMO, Advisory Committee met on January 23rd, 2026. As the new chairman of the TISMO Advisory Committee, I started the meeting with my thoughts on the traffic signal retiming workshop that we held on January 20th, 2026. This workshop was convened as a follow-up to the results of the 324 traffic signal retiming evaluation, stakeholder feedback, and emerging opportunities for improving the traffic signal retiming program. We held an open discussion on the topic at the end of the meeting and concluded that our efforts moving forward would focus on the following: streamline data collection, incorporating alternative technologies and consistent methods across all jurisdictions, establish consistent performance measures, and obtain concurrence on oversaturated corridors. Our next step will be to facilitate a working group to continue on these focus items, our discussion, and develop recommendations, which we will provide to you and our committee. 4 items were approved at the January meeting. The first item was the minutes of the December 5th, 2025 meeting. The second was staff's request to amend the 25-26 through 29-30 TIP. Staff's request to support the federal transportation safety performance targets. Federal PM number 1 was the third item we approved. And lastly, we approved staff's request for updating TISMO bylaws to change the membership of the City of Oakland from non-voting to voting due to increase in population. We had one presentation, Mr. Steven Spana from Fair and Peers, presented on behalf of the Institute of Transportation Engineers Great Ideas Group, or GIGS. And the title of his presentation was Leveraging AI in Transportation Engineering. The next meeting for TISMO Advisory Committee is on February 27th, 2026 at 8:30 a.m. I'm excited to be the new chair of TISMO, and that concludes my report. Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cologne. Well, it's exciting to have you. I'm sure you're enjoying your stay. Any questions for her? Okay, seeing none. Next up on the agenda is public comment on any action items. And I just want to remind people that there are several ways that you can comment. One would be in person, and the other would be virtually via Zoom. With the raise hand feature, during public comment to indicate that you want to speak. Ms. Lisa, do we have anyone that is indicated they would like to speak this morning?
I have not received any requests to speak, and there is no hands on the virtual side.
All right, then we'll continue on with the agenda. Thank you very much. Next, we have number 8, the consent agenda. And it has several items: minutes, approval of financial report, travel report, acceptance of the annual financial report, and approval of the 2026 MetroPlan appointments. Would anyone like to make a motion for approval?
Motion
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Delory, a second by Commissioner Janer. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, board members. Next, for I have other action items. Mr. Slade Downs is taking the place of Ms. Taylor Laurent, and we will be talking about the approval of amendments to the 2026 to 2030. I guess it's just amendments to our plan. Okay. I'm going too fast for you. I was trying to stall and explain it and I got tongue-tied. Thank you for taking Taylor's place this morning.
Sure thing. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, board. As you just mentioned, I'm Slade Downs. I'm subbing in for Taylor Laurent today. Today, we're asking for your approval of amendments to the current Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP. Details about the amendments are provided in section 2 of your agenda packets. Tell you a bit about these amendments. So you can read about it on the board action fact sheet, but the first amendment includes adding 1.5 million in FTA section 5310 funds for links to provide services to meet the transportation needs of older adults and people with disabilities. The second amendment is a change, to the Florida Turnpike's Poinciana Parkway project to advance the right-of-way and environmental phases to the current fiscal year. So no changes in cost to those phases, just allowing for some contracting work to take place this year instead of 2027. And additionally to that second project, a change of 16.8 million in Turnpike funds for design build work in the current fiscal year. And so with that said, again, we're asking for your approval of the amendments as presented. Be happy to take any questions. Thanks.
All right, any questions for Mr. Downs?
Motion to approve, Janer.
Second. I believe this is a roll call vote, so Ms. Lisa will read the names.
Arrington,
Yes.
Bates,
Yes.
Constantine,
Yes.
Gomez Cordero,
Yes.
Delary,
Yes.
Demmings,
Yes.
Dyer,
Yes.
Espinosa,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Grieve,
Yes.
Janer,
Yes.
Nunziata for Capalucis,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Simrad,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Uribe,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Woodruff.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion carried unanimously.
All right, thank you, Lisa. And then our second action item this morning is approval of the federal annual safety performance measures and targets. It's in your agenda on page 47. And Ms. Laura Bach will be presenting this morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, board members. Good to see all of you to talk a little bit about our federal performance measures. So federal law requires that state DOTs and MPOs alike utilize something called the Transportation Performance Management approach. The intent of the approach is just to make sure that our policies and our decision-making are supportive of our strategic planning goals. So the way we work the approach is we'll look at past performance as well as forecasted conditions and use that information to set targets. Then FHWA monitors our progress towards those targets as a part of our planning processes. And then periodically we set new targets. So for today, we're going to be focused on our safety category, where we're required to update our targets annually. The measures within that safety category that we look at include the number and rate of fatal crashes in the region, the number and rate of serious injury crashes in the region, and then the number of non-motorized fatality and serious injury crashes in the region. So on this slide, what we are showing are the trends for each of those metrics I just talked about. These are rolling 5-year averages in each of those columns. I will note that for 2025, the crash data that's available through Signal 4 at the time that we made the slide was as of October 31st. They're generally about 90 days behind. So in that 2025 column, that's sort of partial data. But that said, what we are seeing from a trend perspective is a downward trend, positive trend, the direction that we want to go for most of those metrics since about 2021. We did see a small uptick for the number of non-motorized fatal and serious injury crashes, pretty small, but overall we're trending in the right direction. So as I mentioned, we are required to update our targets for these metrics annually by February 27th. That's 180 days after FDOT has to set their targets. So as they have done over the last several years in keeping with their Target Zero initiative and associated goals, they set the targets for each of the performance metrics at 0. And similarly to what we've done the last several years, we are recommending that we also set our targets at 0 in support of FDOT targets and also of our Vision Zero goals for the region. So with that, the action that we're requesting is approval of the targets as presented as part of this presentation. That's all I have for you, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions? I see Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you so much. There's been a lot of conversations about e-scooters, e-bikes. Are those being categorized as motorized or non-motorized or counted at all in these measures?
So historically, those have come up, generally been coded as a bicycle crash. Actually, part of the work that Jamie, our intern, is doing is going backwards through our crash data to categorize and pull out the ones that actually involve those e-micromobility crashes. So we'll have better data year over year coming up, but they are reflected right now, sort of as bike crashes. So.
All right. Anyone else? All right, seeing with that, thank you, Ms. Bauk. All right, so I have to take a motion, accept a motion for approval in a second, and we'll vote.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Wilson and a second by Commissioner Gomez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, he was aye. Okay, all in favor, so it passed unanimously. Thank you. All right, next up, number 10 is information items for acknowledgement, and there were.
Sure. Make a motion to approve item number 10, information for acknowledgement.
Second, Gomez.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Delary, a second by Commissioner Gomez. All in favor of the motion to accept? Aye. Okay, all opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, next up, and I'm not sure I saw her. She's online, isn't she? Is Miss Whittington?
Just right there.
Oh, there you are. You were hiding behind Lisa. I thought maybe you were in Tallahassee this morning. All right, so first up, under other business and presentations is Miss Virginia Whittington from MetroPlan Orlando. You probably don't need much of an introduction, and you are recognized.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Madam Chair and members. It is my pleasure to present a brief update this morning on where we are. This is week 5 in the session. When you come back together again in March, you'll have about 2 days left, give or take a special session, when the session is scheduled to be finished. Normally by this time, both chambers would have released their initial budgets. That has not happened yet. In fact, it was reported last week that they're due to be released on tomorrow. And the word on the streets is that too is kind of unlikely to happen. The budget negotiations, property tax reform are commanding the legislature's attention right now, and the looming special sessions are going to determine which bills that I'm going to report on in just a moment move forward and which die on the vine. I will share with you that the governor's budget for 26-27 proposes $15.4 billion for transportation, which is about 2% higher than his last proposed budget. But of course, without the House and Senate budgets, it's at this point just a report. Also, there are more than 2,800 local appropriation requests. 8 of those have been initiated from right here in our Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties. I won't go into detail on those unless you're interested, but they total about $21 million. So we've been keeping track on several bills, and so I'm gonna go through those that have momentum, those that are still viable, and those that are at risk. I won't go into this morning. Those that we have been watching closely, especially given your interest, everyone around this table, the e-bikes, e-mobility vehicles. Senate Bill 382 by Senator Trunow and 243 by Rep. Benarosh. Both bills have cleared all three of their committees of reference, and they are both ready for floor action. The bills create regulations surrounding e-bikes. They create an electric bicycle safety task force that will be attached to the Department of Highway and Safety Motor Vehicles. It requires law enforcement agencies to maintain a list of electric bike crashes and report that list to the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle. You're going to hear from Mike in the next presentation. He's going to share a little bit more about what we're doing here at MetroPlan Orlando. But this bill also imposes a 10-mile-per-hour speed limit on sidewalks. It requires the e-bike operators to audibly signal before passing pedestrians. There are violations that are included for non-moving traffic infractions, and the e-bike safety task force is required to report back to the legislature by October 31st of this year with recommendations concerning improvements to state law, regulations to encourage the state's safety and safe use of these bikes. Now, when this legislation was first filed, it was far more dense. It has been watered down. And so we consider this step one. As you all know, good legislation takes multiple bites at the apple. And so we will continue to monitor and see what comes forward. House Bill 243 was added to special order calendar. It will be on the House floor on the 17th. With regard to Senate Bill 1274, this bill is a general transportation bill by Senator DeSigley. Among other things, this bill increases statewide minimum. It's proposing the increase in the statewide minimum yellow signal interval by 0.4 seconds. So adding time to the yellow. It creates a next-gen traffic signal modernization grant program, which will include AI-enabled signals. It updates some micromobility definitions, including those with golf carts and autonomous vehicle definitions. It has a significant restructuring of the Florida Motor Fuel Use Tax Act, and also authorizes automated license plate recognition on private property and adds protections for seaport cargo facilities. The bill has passed its first of 3 committees, and it's still alive. So we'll keep watching that bill. The House companions is House Bill 543. And then there's another closely related bill also by DeSigley, Senate Bill 1080. We watch these very closely because usually in the last couple of weeks of session, if anything is going to get added, it will be added to one of those 2 bills. So we watch those very, very carefully. There is a Senate Bill 1220 by Masulo. House Bill 1223 is its companion. It authorizes FDOT to require local governments to submit applications for federal transportation funding for their review prior to those applications being submitted. It also requires DOT to study the impact of an alternative fuel vehicles on the state transportation revenues and to evaluate potential revenue models to address the impact, and it also gives a $300,000 appropriation to fund that study. The bill designates DOT as the lead agency to coordinate procurement of LiDAR mapping systems, and it outlines penalties for people who may shoot into unoccupied autonomous vehicles.
Repeat that, please.
The bill provides that shooting into an occupied or unoccupied
A weapon?
autonomous, a gun, yes. Apparently this is happening. These type vehicles are being targeted, vandalized, as if it was not. It's being, yes.
Yeah.
And yes. This is on the it'll be on its second committee today. And then that is the Appropriations Committee on Transportation. So that will be, I think it starts at noon today. House Companion is 1233. Representative Griffiths has been heard in its first of two. Two more, and then I will be out of your way. Advanced Air Mobility, Senate Bill 1362, House Bill 1093. It creates the Advanced Air Mobility Competitiveness and Infrastructure Act. And it adds vertiports to a list of qualifying projects for the purposes of public-private partnerships. The bill grants vertiports sovereign immunity to the same extent as public airports. It also adds vertiports to the required comprehensive airport infrastructure program of commercial airports. DOT is to create a model of vertiport siting codes and expeditiously approve complying vertiports. Last Tuesday, Senate Bill 1362 passed its first of three committees. A House bill by Rep. Spencer passed its second of four committees. And then lastly, the Railroad Crossing Safety, Senate Bill 1310 by Rodriguez and House Bill 1323 by Tuck. Both of these bills direct DOT to conduct a statewide study on the potential cost and feasibility of implementing advanced detection, including sensors along railroad crossings that would detect when people are crossing and walking on railroad tracks. So with that, those are the bills that we have been tracking. That last column are those bills that are have been filed, and they have either been referenced to committees but are not likely going to move this session. But anything is possible. So we say that as caveat. There's also bills that have been filed having to do with traffic enforcement, hands-free driving, school safety zones, and other measures that we will just keep a close watch on. As we move into the final stretch, it's important to understand that all of these things tighten, and around day 45 is it gives us to the last 2 weeks of session. And if a bill hasn't cleared its required committees by then, it's unlikely that it will pass. And I'm glad I have some former senators and representatives who are here who can vouch for this. And we also met early on with some of our executive committee members just to talk about the potential for some of the property tax referendum initiatives that have been discussed and the impact of those. We are still watching closely. There are 3 proposals that are ready for consideration by the full House. And if interested, I can send you information on what those are. So, Madam Chair and members, that is my report this morning.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Whittington. I wanted to ask you, is there any reason that the hands-free driving bill is not moving ahead? Because I know that's really a top priority of the bike enthusiasts in the state.
That is usually a bill that is filed over and over each year, and it just never gets the momentum. Some of these other things are just taking higher priority.
Yeah. Okay. And Commissioner Delary?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Virginia, with the e-bike legislation, are they also talking about enforcement, how they're going to enforce these regulations?
The discussion around enforcement right now has to do with non-moving violations that will be imposed Out of the task force, I think is gonna be where you're gonna see.
I'm just
more-
curious to see how they're gonna write a ticket to a 12-year-old. That's why I can't wait to see that one.
Gotta
But
catch 'em.
I look forward to their knowledge, their wisdom. Next is Senate Bill 1220. Is that moving at all? Do you know of? Because what I think it says, from what I've been told last night, is that for us to ask the feds for appropriations, we have to get DOT prior approval. And I'm concerned about that because I can see that having issues.
Yes and yes. It is moving. It is actually on committee calendar today. So
Okay.
it is being taken up in the Appropriations Committee today.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if
Commissioner
I can,
Constantine.
this is to follow up on Commissioner Delory and what he has just said. 1220 is the DOT budget package, if I'm not mistaken. So therefore, this is a bill that DOT is asking for. And I am a big proponent of the Department of Transportation, serving on those committees and the Appropriations Committee for a long time. I understand the importance. But in this case, this particular section of the bill, because this is also the one about shooting into autonomous vehicles and other things. But in this case, it's essentially, there are good reasons for them to evaluate our requests, but for them to be able to veto our requests in federal government, with all due respect, I think is a violation of home rule, as many things in the legislature is a violation of home rule today. I mean, we could go down a litany, but every time we have one, I want us to point it out and to recognize the fact that this is, we might want something very important that's not so important with the DOT, but that should not preclude us from being able to ask for it. So I want to send that to my good friend Jared Perdue and others, that I, for one, feel this is a violation of home rule. And I think all of you would probably agree with me on that.
We probably would. Okay,
Madam Chair, one more item, and then I'll be quiet if you don't mind.
I've got Commissioner Jainer, then you're up next.
You can go first. Go ahead, Delory.
I just did, you talked about some legislative appropriations that our local folks are going after. I'm hoping that they go after new money. And I think that's what needs to be stressed, is that any appropriations that we do go after as a city or a county, that it's new money, because as we go after those appropriations, what happens is that our SU dollars get cut. So we're circumventing the system. And so other projects will be put on the back burner because of it. So there's money that DOT has, and DOT can express this. There's only so much money in the pot.
Right.
Okay. And I understand the issues with DOT, and there's so much money because we all have to deal with budgets. And when you're forced by legislation to put a project in, they got to get that money from somewhere. The money is from what we're actually allocated from our D5 money from SU dollars, and that's one of the pots. But when we circumvent this system by going after legislation to get a project, they're going to be moving money around, and I don't fault them for this. In fact, I understand why they do it, and I get it. So when we're looking for legislation to bring a project in by going to our state representatives and our senators, we're actually bifurcating our own system. So when you go after a project, make sure it's new money that is coming from another bucket and not DOT's existing money that they're counting on, because there's only so much money that is in this region. And so like a good example is that we want to get the I-4 bridge widened. And so the commitment we made with DOT was that we're not going after existing money, we're going after new money. Money that would not come to the state, money that DOT doesn't have the purview over at this point. And so when we're going after legislation, we need to be going after new money that's not coming to DOT today, so that it is a new project, because all we're doing is we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's all we're doing.
I've had that experience as well. All right, Commissioner Jana.
Yes, one quick question, because I know we're running long on this. With SB 1274 and House Bill 543, you mentioned transportation package, that one of the things is fuel tax. Anything that we have to be concerned about in terms of our allocation here on the fuel tax? That's my only question.
Well, from what I understand, they are looking at the proceeds. I think this is alternative fuel vehicles, and looking at the act itself, and we'll come back with a recommendation. So I don't know how much further we can go. I can get some more information.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Commissioner Cordero? No.
Oh, okay. Virginia, great job on keeping track of these. And I did notice that you've got the McFarland bill that was introduced, and then it's now bills to watch, and the difference is that the Senate Bill 1274 took over as opposed to the House
Yes.
bill. And I hear that bill is actually better than the first bill, because the first bill was quite broad. Can you explain that a little?
Well, the 1274, that bill that is by Senator DeSigley, it gives the outline for, let me get back over here.
That one includes the air mobility, includes everything. It's just like a
Yes,
complete
it is encompassing some of the other House bills. So the House bills are the where those House bills are, is also the Senate bill is the Senate companion. So it is more comprehensive.
So we've been watching that bill at MPOAC, which, if it passes successfully, would actually take place July 1st and would encompass the MPOAC in that bill, which is good because the MPOAC essentially represents the MPOs. So hopefully that'll continue. And it's good to be on the good side of Representative McFarland this year than on the other. Great work on keeping us updated. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Ms. Whittington, for your report this morning. Up next, we have Mr. Wilson to talk to us a little bit more about e-bike safety and a pilot program.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everyone. Yes, e-bikes, the topic of the day, right? It's not just in our imaginations. We see it in the data. We don't have really good hard numbers yet, but we have estimates. And you can see the bar chart there on the bottom is our estimate of what percentage of bicycle crashes involve e-bikes and or e-scooters. And we're up to almost a third of those crashes. And that's also then reflecting the overall trend for bike and crashes. You can see that we're about 50% above the pre-COVID levels, almost 50%. So how do we get a handle on this? Well, one way is to get our new drivers, soon to be drivers, trained in how to operate these motorized vehicles. What we're going to be doing is piloting an existing online course. It will be free of charge to students. We'll be focusing on middle schools and high schools, specifically grades 7 through 10, which would be ages 10 to 15. The course is developed by the American Bicycling Education Association. They also developed the Cycling Savvy course, which Commissioner Delari had the experience of attending. There's 21 modules, about an hour's worth of material, and then it also includes quizzes for the students. And then we're adding in some pre and post-course surveys as part of our pilot project, so we can get a handle on what is it that the students understand and feel about e-bikes before and after taking the course. So the training basically, it has sections on the equipment itself, understanding what's a legal e-bike, battery safety, of course, is an issue, making sure that it is a safe vehicle for them to operate. And then knowing the rules of the road, how to ride in the road or on the sidewalk, how to do it safely. And then we get into really defensive driving for these, again, new drivers, basically, to understand, especially for e-bikes, that speed and stopping distance is a very important component about it. Understanding how to scan effectively, understanding what types of crashes are likely to be they're at risk for, and then how to mitigate those, and then some special high-risk situations they need to be aware of. And then also we're seeing kids riding together, which is a great thing. It's social, but there's some special things that kids need to understand about if you're going to ride together, because there's just the potential for crashing into one another, right? Is there. So we are currently moving forward with the program. We're coordinating right now with the school boards as to find out what schools we want to target, how do we promote the course, how do we distribute it, and then by the end of this fiscal year, we'll have a report for you to give you the results on the completion and what the quizzes look like and what the feedback that we have, with some recommendations, of course, also on future implementation for the schools to move forward on. And that concludes my presentation. Be happy to take any questions.
I'm going to ask Commissioner Wilson just a second, but as a former school board member, how are the negotiations going? In which counties are you having discussions? And then how many schools will you be utilizing in the pilot program?
Right. We're working with all three. We've already spoken to Orange County, got a lot of good feedback from them. And then we're leveraging that then in talking with the other two counties. I think we're already setting up for Osceola County. Not sure where we are with Seminole yet as far as those discussions. But just working out a lot of the logistics of how do we manage this particular pilot, as well as what they'd be looking for down the road in a more long-term implementation. We're hoping to have about 9 schools for the 3 counties.
Okay, well, very good. And Commissioner Wilson, you had an additional question?
Yeah, actually, you got one of them, and I am really grateful that this is happening. I think the timing is really perfect. How are the schools being? Is the school district helping settle on which schools, or is there some data being used to?
Yeah, we really don't have. Well, actually the schools have some of the data, and that's why we're relying on them. So yeah, Orange County quickly came to us with, we've got schools that we want you to target.
All right, any other questions? Commissioner Demings. Mayor Demings.
All right. I just want to understand. How did you come up with that spelling?
All these years, and then for the first time. Well, just so you know, I had a prior career in the graphic arts business, and when I was in art school, just signing MIKE Wilson to illustrations just wasn't going to cut it. So
Changed it, huh?
Okay. I thought you were going to give us a question from your days as sheriff. And okay, Commissioner Delary.
Mike, I've got one quick question for you. I know you're talking about e-bikes. Does that also include e-scooters? Because it should, but people may not realize that it would if you just say e-bikes.
Correct. And the curriculum is strictly targeted to e-bikes. My feeling is that all of the strategies that are taught apply equally to e-scooters. The real difference is in the handling of the devices, and that really requires more of a hands-on approach as opposed to an online course. But I think that's something we could discuss with ABEA as to are there ways that we can communicate that really all of these strategies for being safe are.
So presently it doesn't go to e-scooters, just e-bike.
Correct.
Okay, I want to be clear.
Yeah.
Definitions are important.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Summerat.
Thank you, Commissioner, and our new chair lady. Thank you. I have a question. So I'm also a teacher at UCF, a professor. And one of the things that we've noticed over the course of time is that learning styles and the way that this generation learns, and that's the current generation in college. In school, it's very different. It's all, and my kids are in elementary school. So off of Commissioner Delary's point, in the elementary schools, you see a lot of kids arriving in downtown on scooters. And they are fifth grade or maybe like fifth to fourth grade, I would say. So I still think that, maybe not yet, but we need to at least get somewhere at some point in time where they have some education, because they'll just veer out and jag, like what would be the equivalent of jag walking, but with their scooter in the road. But then additionally, going back to the way that kids are learning, one of the things that happens is they just copy a question, paste it into AI. What's the answer? They got it, they put it in, and the learning is not as effective as what it used to be in those standardized forms of watch a video, read the content, and learn. And so as you develop the program, I think it's just important that when lives are on the line for our youth, that it is really important that, either lockdown browsers, or maybe it's issued actually in a classroom where there's some type of supervision, but we want them to actually learn the content, not to rush through it just to get through it.
Yeah. Well, the quizzes in this program really don't allow for cut and paste. They're multiple choice, and they're actually pretty tricky. I mean, I took the quizzes and I found some of the questions and answers challenging. So, but yeah, there's really not any opportunity for them to do a cut and paste for this.
I will tell you, as a college professor, when there's a will to cheat, there's a way, and they find it.
Well, okay. All right. Well, thank you. You can hear from the board that there's extreme interest in this subject matter. So I hope you'll keep us apprised of your progress.
We will.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. All right. Then next up, we have Mr. Togger talking to us about the UPWP for 26-27 and 27-28. You're recognized.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Board members, good morning. So you hear a lot about our planning process, our long-range plan, our prioritized project list. You took up an amendment to our transportation improvement program earlier this morning. But this is another federal term, Unified Planning Work Program. It's basically code for MetroPlan Orlando's annual operating budget. This is just what the Federal Highway Administration refers to it as. But it is a 2-year operating budget. And includes all of our planning studies, salary, and consultant services that we do to kind of do our required works, but also add value to our partners along the way. 2 years is a federal requirement, so you'll see this is beginning in July 1 of this year and going through June of 2028. It is a performance-based budget, so it identifies the plans, studies, and other tangible deliverables that we'll be bringing through the planning process. And incorporates all federal, state, and local funds within the budget document. This is something that we bring to the board every 2 years, every even year. You see it every odd year. We do an amendment to reconcile going into the second year of the plan, but this is the update to that document. Every even January, we bring this to committees and to the board as a preview. Your next cycle will have a tangible document, a draft document at your places for action or for a draft submittal. But we'll be submitting that after your preliminary approval next cycle. To DOT, they provide comments as well as Federal Highway. They pass those back to us, hopefully few or none. And then we bring that final document back to the board at your May meeting. And then it goes effective come July 1 of this calendar year. The document structure of the document's really not changing. 10 sections, mostly required by federal law or state guidance. So not many changes here. But what you will see, we've spent a lot over the past 2 years about, you heard a lot about the long range plan, our 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We were in plan development mode. Now we're going into plan implementation mode. So you see us doing a lot of different plans and studies in response to that long range plan. So the distribution of funds finds themselves more in our multimodal systems planning, but it's some of our other tasks versus it being heavy in that task 130. We also have discretionary grants included. We've been very active in pursuing federal discretionary grants over the past 4 to 5 years, and you're seeing that in our budget document. Last year, this current year in 26, You see $15.7 million in total. Next year, we're looking at 3.9. But then as we get into fiscal 28, because we can't yet show grants that we have not pursued just yet and have been awarded, you're going to see us go back down to typical formula-based revenue, formula-based income as it relates to kind of the MetroPlan Orlando budget. So typically we're in that 10 to 11 mark, but because of the discretionary grants that we've been recipients of, we're seeing a surge in the federal funds there. So we pass through some of our federal funds directly to Links. Part of our planning funds go to Links, and they do their strategic transit planning services with those monies. We also pass through funds that they use to administer the paratransit service, the Access Links program, as part of the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating process. What do we do with the monies that we have internally? About 50% of our budget goes right back out to consultant services, to plans, studies, and other activities, both regionally required, but also supporting local government initiatives. As I mentioned, we were successful in another federal planning grant. You heard about that announcement. So you're going to be hearing a lot more about safety action planning, both roadway safety audit, communications, education, kind of everything in between. We're going to be implementing the 2050 MTP, so we're going to be doing more modeling, projecting, forecasting, but also following up on some of the strategies and ideas that we just scratched the surface of in the long-range planning process, and that we need to dig deeper over the next couple of years around health, around infrastructure hardening, as well as around the topics of transformational technology like advanced air mobility and some other topics. So we'll be doing more research, more studies, and bringing solutions to the board here along the way. This also includes our traffic signal retiming program. So we spend about $1.5 million a year on retiming and before and after studies to validate that. So a good portion of our budget, again, goes to improving the operations and reliability of the system. It also includes public participation. So everything that I just mentioned has an element of public participation, but we also go above and beyond with our public opinion research. So understanding the public sentiments around transportation and other issues of growth. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about that over the next couple months. We'll be continuing that work in our next budget cycle as well. But a lot of our work requires visualization, education. You'll be seeing more of that from us, whether it's short videos, other educational opportunities to both inform and educate the public on safety and other topics of importance. We do work outside of our study area as well. So our 3 counties is the size of Delaware. We say jokingly, but we also coordinate with our partners outside of our 3-county area. We share contiguous urbanized areas. So we need to plan legally, but also by best practice. We have a long-standing staff support of the Central Florida MPO Alliance. So you'll see those funds going to that. We're also talking about the Lake to Lake Regional Trail. I know some of our partners actually transects our entire region, goes into Okeechobee County. So we're going to be scrubbing that project a little bit more. It was identified in our long range, in our 2050 plan. We're going to be doing some initial feasibility work, master planning on that one to add a little bit more detail to that project so we can pursue other state opportunity funding for that long range project. So a lot going on over the next couple of years: safety, mobility, accessibility, and other types of planning you'll see in our budget. As I mentioned before, at your next meeting, you will have a tangible document, a draft document for your review and approval. But if you have any questions as of today, if you didn't see anything or you didn't hear me say a different project or study that you'd like to see incorporated, now's a good time to let us know. And we'll see what we can do to incorporate that into the planning process. So with that, I appreciate your time this morning, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you for that report. And it's interesting about the trail programs because this month, and I'm sure the Lake Apopka Loop Trail Connector probably started here 2 decades ago or with the Friends of Lake Apopka. But for the rest of you, the trail is being celebrated for the grand opening on February 28th. Mayor Demings and I will be there. Start a bike ride. I have to challenge you, Mayor, to bring your bike. Okay. He'll bring his motorcycle. I don't know if they're allowed on the trail system, but anyway, thank you for your work on that. Does anyone else have any questions? All right, thank you. All right, next up we have Mr. Miles O'Keefe from Links talking to us about the Transit Development Program.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. Again, I'm Miles O'Keefe. I'm Manager of Strategic Planning at Links. I'm happy to be here today to share A little bit of the highlights from our annual update to our transit development plan. Go over the background of the plan. Why do we do this? An updated rule to the plan from the state about a year and a half ago. I think to highlight some of the accomplishments from the agency over the last year, identify the service changes that took place, and then a little look ahead at the plans and projects the agency is working on or will be working on, and finish up with the next steps for this annual update to the transit development plan process. So why do we do this? In short, it helps us plan for a 10-year horizon, but it also is required for us to qualify for public transit block grants. So if we don't do this, less money coming into the agency. Some of the requirements in the plan, like I mentioned, accomplishments. Were there any differences in what you said you would do versus what actually took place? You revise the financial forecast, you revise your new first year and your new 10th year of the plan. I mentioned this is an annual update. Of course, every 5 years, we are required to do a major update to that plan. The next one is due March 1st of 2028. The revised rule took place July of 2024. Key elements to that was intended to streamline the overall process, save the agency time and money as they go through the, especially the major update effort. It did shift the due date from September 1st to March 1st, which is why I'm here today, so we could submit by March 1st. And it does emphasize, more codify the requirement to coordinate with each agency's respective metropolitan planning organization. In regards to that coordination, Links has done a really good job over the years prior to this being a requirement. Regularly, we take our TDP, share it with staff here at MetroPlan. Previously, it was incorporated as the transit element into what was the long-range transportation plan. More recently, it was incorporated as a transit element to the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, now the MTP. Continuing that, but adding on to as part of this new requirement, we're presenting annual and major updates to all the committees here at MetroPlan and, of course, the board here today. Just want to highlight some of the accomplishments. There's going to be more on the page than I actually talk about. First off, we did open up a new transfer center in the Pine Hills community in August of 2025. That streamlined operations for us, but of course, enhanced safety for the passengers. There was no transfer center in that neighborhood previously, so now they have a streamlined location that actually coordinates with the Pine Hills Community Trail running through that neighborhood. We updated numerous plans this past year, some annual plans like our Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan, which we share here with the Quality Assurance Task Force and the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board, the TDLCB. We did update our bus stop design guide manual. That's something we're happy to share with your respective staffs. Helps answer questions about the hierarchy of stops, what amenities are located at one stop versus another, help answer some questions you might receive from the community. As Alex mentioned, we do receive funding as part of the Unified Planning Work Program to do some planning work. One of those projects was a customer satisfaction survey that we ran this past fall, and would be happy to come back at a later date to share the results with this group on that one. Some of our procurements included a new real-time bus tracker mobile application for customers. This is now live. If you've traveled to other places around the world, you may have used Transit app. So feel free to go to any mobile application store, download Transit app, and you'll have free access to the enhanced features in this application as long as you are within the Links service area. So you could be a resident, you could be a visitor, you'll have all those enhanced features available in the Transit app. In coordination with Orange County, as part of their accelerated transportation safety program, we've installed 26 new bus shelters this past year with 73 more in progress. Service changes, we conduct 3 service changes every year of varying intensities. The first one, we highlighted an extension of our Link 311. That's a route that serves Orlando International Airport, key destinations on its way over to Disney Springs. We did add a little leg to that so it could serve Epic Universe and the Helios Grand Hotel since that opened this past year. In conjunction with that new transfer center in Pine Hills, we did modify some of our routes. And more recently, on January 11th, in coordination with Seminole County and their new Scout Mobility on-demand service, there were some service reductions that took place. Looking ahead, we continue to search and identify property for a new operations and maintenance facility in the southern part of our service area. We continue to coordinate and we'll be conducting a feasibility study in partnership with the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority for a new transfer facility. If you're familiar today, the buses serve Terminal A, and we're looking at a plot of land there on that graphic adjacent to the train station down at Terminal C. We're also conducting a fare study at the agency, as well as an update to our transit asset management plan. I think that is like our preventative maintenance plan for all our federally funded capital assets. In some upcoming work, we have a Title VI program update that's required every 3 years by the Federal Transit Administration. And another large project that's supported with the UPWP funds is going to be a major update to our transit development plan, and this fall, a system-wide origin and destination passenger survey. As far as the next steps, this really kicked off in October when we shared this with the Links Oversight Committee. Beginning last month, we've been sharing it with the committees here at MetroPlan Orlando, and of course, the board today. Later this month, I'll be sharing it with my board of directors at Links. We'll submit by March 1st to the Florida Department of Transportation. They'll go through their review. We'll have a conversation back and forth on any questions or revisions, and we'll be ready for the start of the state fiscal year in July. It's my pleasure being here with you this morning.
All
To
right.
answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. O'Keefe. Any questions? Okay, Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you so much. A lot of information there. Really appreciate the scope and depth, but I was curious about hearing that there's added service to the Epic area. We go to Disney Springs. And understanding this may be a conversation we can have in another place, but what is the contribution from those entities, our private partners, for that additional service? Because I can imagine that that was an increased budget allocation.
Our Director of Planning, Carl Weckerman, can answer that.
Good morning, Carl Weckerman, Director of Planning at Links. In answer to your question, the Shingle Creek CDD contributes approximately about $500,000 annually for the new service serving the Epic Universe theme park.
Any other question? All right, seeing none, thank you, Mr. O'Keefe.
Thank you very much.
All right, and then we are at the point in the meeting today for public comment. And I will ask Lisa if there's anyone here in person or asking to speak virtually via Zoom. And if you are interested in speaking and you're listening now, you can complete the electronic speaker card at metroplan.orlando.gov /speaker card, and hard copies are available here. Each speaker has 2 minutes to address the board and should state their name and address for the record. Miss Lisa, do we have anyone wanting to speak this morning?
I do not see any hands raised online, and I have not received any in-person requests.
All right, thank you. And then that would bring us to 13, board member comments, if we have any this morning. Yes, Commissioner.
I just
McVeigh.
wanted to clarify that when we were in DC for National Association of Regional Councils, it was not only transportation, it was housing, homelessness, environmental, and Commissioner Constantine from Seminole County was there representing Seminole County. So I just want to acknowledge, so we had 2 Florida, well, we had more than 2 Florida folks. We had a lot of Miami, but it was great to have Central Florida represented. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Rebate. So next up, our meeting will be March 11th, 2026 at 9 a.m. And I look forward to seeing all of you. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned. You realize that that meeting is the same.